Hey, what is going on guys? It's Johnny and welcome to a Pokemon Unite video. In today's video, we're going to be discussing about information that might be overlooked to helping you get more wins. We'll be going in depth on how the map for Remoat Stadium works and understanding the overall objective of the game. This video will serve as a guide for anybody that wants to have a strong foundation and knowledge of Pokemon Unite. We'll break down the key elements that are important to understand and help you get more wins to climb the ladder in ranked and get those sweet rewards. Before we do jump into it guys, if you do like the video, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. This will greatly help our channel to grow and help with the YouTube algorithm and recommend the video to other viewers. Now, without any further ado, let's jump right into it. To start, let's talk about the objective of Remote Stadium, which is the main map for both normal and ranked games. If you've done the tutorial, then you know that there are 2 teams of 5 and the goal is to score the most Aeos points by the end of the game. Now, how do we get Aeos points? The simple answer is through defeated Pokemon. This covers wild Pokemon, opposing Pokemon, and believe it or not, even your own teammates. At the beginning, both teams will be focused on defeating wild Pokemon as they are the only ones who have any points at the start of the game. As you defeat wild Pokemon such as Aipom, Corphish, etc., they will give you both Aeos points and experience points. You can normally identify wild Pokemon through the yellow Pokeball symbol above their head and how many points they provide next to it. On your minimap, they'll also be displayed as yellow dots, and once defeated, will disappear. It's important to note that the person that gets the last hit on the Pokemon will receive the Aeos points automatically. As the game progresses, teams will have gained a few points through defeating wild Pokemon. This includes the opposing team as well, which you will have to fight sooner or later. Unlike wild Pokemon though, when you defeat the opposing Pokemon on the other team, they'll drop about half of their Aeos points on the ground. These are free points that can be picked up by anyone, so make sure to pick up all of these points when available. The same thing can be said about your own teammates if they are defeated. Protect your teammates if they have a bunch of points, and don't go blindly chasing after enemies if they don't have any points. You're better off farming to get more consistent points and experience. This will help you reach the late game and give you an advantage over your opponent. What do you do with your points? With your points, you'd want to score and rack up points for your team. Again, the objective is to score the most points and win the match. As long as you have points, then you can choose to score by locating the enemy goals. Both teams will start with 5 goals, 2 outer, 2 middle, and 1 inner goal, which is located right outside the base. The 2 outer and middle goals are separated between the top and bottom path. It's important to note that if you want to score on the inner goal, then you have to destroy the outer and middle goal of one path. The same thing can be said about scoring on the middle goal. You must destroy the outer goal first. There's a movement speed debuff on the enemy's territory that will drastically slow you down between 2 goals. To get rid of it, simply destroy the outermost goal. Each goal can only contain a certain amount of points. Once exceeded, then that goal will be destroyed with the exception of the inner goal, which has no limits. For the outer and middle goal, they can hold 80 and 100 points respectively. Likewise, there's a limit to the amount of points players can hold as well. At the start, you'll be able to hold up to 30 points. Once you reach level 9, the cap will increase to 40, and then level 12 increases to 50. This is why it's recommended to farm and gain levels as quickly as possible, since it allows you to hold on to more points at a given time and provides other benefits as well, which we'll cover next. However, do note that the more points you carry, the longer it will actually take to score. The opposing team can stop you from scoring as well by attacking. If any attacks connect while you're charging to score, then it will be interrupted. Finding the right moment to score is a key factor to victory, and you'd want to coordinate with your team. Over pushing can generally backfire and cost you to be defeated and lose your points and other objectives on the map. So, proceed with caution. What are experience points and how do we gain them? EXP points are used to level your Pokemon and become stronger. Through leveling, your base stats will increase and reaching certain levels will grant you new moves. This includes Unite moves as well, which is basically your special attack and very useful for big team fights. Depending on the Pokemon you chose, they can also evolve when reaching certain levels. Note that gaining certain levels and evolving varies depending on your Pokemon, and as a result, each Pokemon will have a different power spike. Similar to gaining Aeos points, you'd simply just have to defeat any Pokemon to gain experience. EXP will be shared between nearby party members, but last hitting will provide the majority of experience points. Main damage dealers like Cinderace should be the ones to generally last hit to reach the late game faster. While defeating wild Pokemon to earn Aeos Points and experience might seem simple at first glance, there are ways to secure your victory or return from a losing game that your team should prioritize. And these are objectives. So what are objectives? Objectives are also wild Pokemon, but the main difference is that they provide greater benefits like buffs. The first set of objectives you should try to find are Bouffalant and Ludicolo, which are both located within the central area. Certain wild Pokemon have different spawning time. For Bouffalant and Ludicolo, they spawn 15 seconds after the game starts at 9:45. Now, let's talk about the buffs that both of these Pokemon provide. As you defeat Ludicolo, he will provide you with a purple buff, which you can see surrounding your chosen Pokemon. This will increase the damage dealt to enemies with lower HP. The buff lasts around 1 minute and a very good way to execute your opponents. Having this buff will greatly give you an advantage, so you generally want to engage targets that have lower HP. For defeating Bouffalant, he will grant you with an orange buff. Similarly, the buff will last around 1 minute, and during its duration, any targets that you hit with your normal attacks will have their movement speed decreased. This is greatly beneficial when trying to chase down enemy opponents that might be overextending. As enemies overextend, they are generally further away from their base, so chasing down opponents with your team will be much easier. A common mistake I generally see during my games are teams leaving both buffs unattended. Both Pokemon provides a good amount of Aeos and EXP points, and as we just mentioned, buffs. If you're in charge of the central area, you should make it a main focus to clear out the jungle camps, especially Ludicolo and Bouffalant. If you're laning either on the top or bottom path and you see a jungler not clearing out these camps, then you should grab them as soon as possible. While Bouffalant and Ludicolo provide single buffs for the user that last hits them, there are bigger objectives that will provide buffs for your entire team. These are objectives that you generally can't solo unless you're very far ahead. As a result, you generally want to coordinate with your team and make sure the opposing enemy is not aware or is defeated during the time. These objectives are Rotom and Dreadnought. Rotom and Dreadnought both spawn at the 7-minute mark. Location-wise, Rotom will spawn at the top path while Dreadnought spawns at the bottom path. Both provide unique buffs, which we'll cover now. For defeating Rotom, he'll serve as an ally and attack the opposing team if they are within range. If there are no opposing Pokemon, Rotom will go directly towards the enemy goal, making it defenseless for 20 seconds if nobody stops it. When the enemy goal is defenseless, it basically means that scoring will be instant with no charge time, regardless of the number of points you have. This makes it very convenient for scoring and getting rid of the enemy's top side, allowing your team to have more map control and pressure. Dreadnought on the other hand will grant you a shield that scales off of your max HP. Similar to Rotom, Dreadnought also provides EXP points upon being defeated. The difference is that Dreadnought will provide experience for the entire team, regardless of where they are. The experience he provides is drastically higher than any other Pokemon, and that's why he's generally the one that gets prioritized. Experienced teams will not let Dreadnought fall to the opposite hands without contesting it. Teams that get the most Dreadnoughts tend to win the game, since they will be at a higher level with stronger abilities. Even if you're winning or losing, do not make the mistake of giving up free objectives. These objectives are key to turning the tide of a battle, so make sure to plan with your team and coordinate getting these objectives. Next, we're going to discuss about the spawn, respawn, and despawn times of wild Pokemon. When exactly are these times and how are they important? This info is generally overlooked but plays an essential role in securing your objectives and makes farming more consistent. This part can be a little bit tricky, so we're going to display a table on screen for reference. Once the match starts, 8 Aipom will spawn immediately, 4 on the top path and 4 on the bottom path, as well as a little pup in the jungle. At 9:45, the jungle buffs will spawn, Ludicolo and Bouffalant, along with 2 jungle Corphish, and a random Ardino at the bottom path here. At 9:40, 2 Aipom will spawn at the top path as well as a Corphish, and 2 Ardino will spawn at the bottom path. At 9 minutes, 2 Corphish will spawn in the grassy area at your base, 1 at the top path and 1 at the bottom. At 8:50, Vespiquen and Combi camps will spawn on both paths. Finally, at 8:45, 4 core fish will spawn near the center of the map. Note that destroying an outer enemy goal will spawn new wild Pokemon near their base, and the same will happen if one of your base is destroyed. For most wild Pokemon, they respawn 1 minute after their defeat, with the exception of Rotom and Dreadnought, who respawn 2 minutes after their defeat, and the 8 Apom that spawn at the beginning of the match, which never respawns. Once you enter the last 2 minutes of the match, some interesting things will happen. Firstly, Dreadnought and Rotom both despawn and never come back. And secondly, all the wild Pokemon will evolve, meaning that they will grant you more points upon their defeat, with the exception of Jungle Buffs, Ardino, and the Combi Camps, who stay the same. These final 2 minutes of the match are dubbed the final stretch. Well, what is the final stretch? The final stretch is arguably the most important time in the game. During this time, points scored are doubled, making this the most opportune time to score. Not only that, but a new, and I can't stress this enough, extraordinarily important objective spawns in the center of the map: Zapdos. Zapdos grants the most powerful buff in the game. Defeating it will make all the opposing team's goals defenseless for 20 seconds. Plus, it grants the team a lot of Aeos Points. And unlike Rotom, who can get interrupted, once Zapdos is defeated, this buff will be put into effect immediately. Zapdos can make or break an entire game. Even if you were losing hard early game, getting Zapdos can completely change the outcome of the match. Remember, the same thing can be said for the enemy team. No matter how amazing the early game went for your team, if the enemy team gets Zapdos, it's very likely they'll be stealing the win. So you and your team must play strategically. If your team is winning the match, you absolutely must not try to attack Zapdos first. This is a mistake many players make during their games. What you actually want to do is protect Zapdos. If you were winning the early game, there's no reason your team will need Zapdos. All you have to do is make sure the other team doesn't get it. Be careful while you're doing this. Make sure to leave some of your team to defend your goals so the enemy team doesn't try to sneak some points in while everyone is focused on Zapdos. Now, what if your team is losing? You'll obviously be trying to defeat Zapdos and change the tide of the match. As said before, the other team will probably be protecting Zapdos, which means defeating your team before you get a chance to attack it. The best way to go about this is to bring your entire team and go all in and defeat the opposing team protecting it, and then take Zapdos for yourself. If the opposing team is already attacking Zapdos, which I mentioned is generally a mistake if they have the lead, then have someone with a long range ability or Unite move to steal it. Note that it doesn't matter which team did the most damage to Zapdos, all that matters is which side took the last hit. If your team is the one that took Zapdos, your one and only objective is to survive and score. Run directly to their goal zones and don't stop for anything. If you run into the opposing team, try to move around them. You do not need to try and defeat them since scoring is instant while they are defenseless. Once you have scored, return to your base and defend. Though most of your team should have been able to score a lot of points, it's never a bad thing to be cautious and make sure the opposing team doesn't sneak by you and score some of their own points. On the other hand, if your team lost Zapdos, best you can do is try and defeat the opposing team before they reach your goal zones. Standing by at the goal zones won't be of much help because if they've already gotten that close, there's little to be done to stop them with the Zapdos buff. At this point, go straight to the problem and prevent them from entering your base. And that pretty much covers everything that you need to know about Remoat Stadium. I know there was a bunch of information, but understanding the map and objectives are very important to securing your victory. This has helped me greatly for climbing in ranked, and I wanted to share all of these information with you guys to help increase your chances of winning. I hope you guys found this guide to be useful, and best of luck in your ranked games. Alrighty guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to smash that like and subscribe button. Don't forget to also turn on that notification bell so you don't miss out on any newly released videos. I've been Johnny D, and until next time, I'll catch you guys in the next one.